All right. So I'm going to be talking about this article right here, e-scooter rental services resuming in Abu Dhabi, that was published just yesterday on the Khalij Times. So we're going to be talking about five specific hold up, my bad. Five specific economic concepts, which are opportunity cost, scarcity incentives, factors of production, and the economic sector within the article that I feel was mentioned the most. So, firstly, we're going to be talking about opportunity cost. So, after reading the article, I felt that the opportunity cost of taking the e-scooter itself, or like riding the e-scooter, would be taking a taxi because it's both the most time efficient and the most cost efficient like alternative to taking the e-scooter, because walking you would take a lot longer for paying nothing to walk like to walk to like a short period destination, and yeah, so that's why I feel like it's the opportunity cost. And also taking the bus would also take a long time, even though you're paying a bit more. So yeah, that wouldn't be a good alternative either. So yeah, moving on to scarcity. So after I read the article, the first thing that caught my eye in terms of scarcity was the scarcity in the number of e-scooters that were being available to rent, which was at a 25% capacity. So if you see here, it talks about how they announced that the e-scooter rental firms had to start off at a 25% capacity in specific districts, and so yeah, that just showed that there was like a finite amount of e-scooters that could be rented after they resumed the availability of the service itself. So moving on to incentives, the incentive or like the behavior that I chose to focus my incentives around was people riding e-scooters in general, or even during the COVID-19 pandemic era. So starting off with the positive built-in incentive, I talked about how they had a lot of sanitary precautions that they had set in place that they mentioned in the article. So right here you can see that how they talked about the operators having to use or having to provide single-use gloves, hand sanitizer, and disinfected wipes at the rental places themselves. So this would be a positive built-in incentive because it it like helps, or like it makes people want to ride the e-scooters, especially during the COVID-19 times, because the scooters themselves are sanitary, and they can see that the company themselves are taking uh, like uh, straight away, they're taking immediate action to ensure the safety of the scooters themselves. So that's why it's a positive built-in incentive. But moving on to the positive added incentive, I wrote that there would be like promo codes or like free rides that would be offered by the e-scooter companies. So the reason why this would be a positive added is because it would incentivize the people to ride the scooters, but it's not an immediate effect. It would be something that they do over a period of time. So personally, for me, I have Tier on my phone, and what Tier is basically it's just another one of the e-scooter companies. And recently they sent me a message saying, "Oh, here's a promo code for 2 free rides since we're opening back up." So I just wanted to put that in because it's kind of like relatable to the incentive that I just talked about. So yeah, moving on to the negative added incentive that I mentioned, which would be that the consumers would need to either walk or take a taxi to their destination if they didn't use an e-scooter. So this would be like a penalty because you're basically having to take the most valuable alternative to taking the e-scooter. So that's why it would be a negative added, because it's not something immediate that happens, and at the same time it's kind of like you're getting penalized for not using the e-scooter. So moving on to the factor of production that I wanted to focus on, or that I saw in the article, I mentioned labor, specifically the e-scooter company employees, because they mentioned them a lot throughout the article, how they needed to have periodic checks of all the staffs to make sure that they're free from the virus. They would do testing, and they would have masks on all the time and gloves and all of that. And also how the employees that worked at the companies had to always give the gloves, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant wipe at the actual rental sites. So that's why I mentioned them as the labor specifically. But the reason why they are labor is because they have to move and place the e-scooters in their respective locations, so that they fall under the labor factor of production, because they work to distribute the product, which is the e-scooter, and so that's why they fall under labor specifically as one of the factors of production. So lastly, I'm going to be talking about the economic sector that I saw the most in the actual article, and that's the tertiary sector. So the reason why I saw tertiary the most, or the reason why this displays the tertiary sector the most, is because the product itself, the e-scooter, it's not a manufactured good and it's not a raw resource. So and it's also being distributed to the consumers. So therefore, it's within the tertiary sector because it doesn't fit into the other two sectors, and also because it includes, or like the article includes discussion of how the product is distributed and how the good or the service is being purchased by the consumers. So yeah, that's the basis. That's basically my presentation. Thank you and good night. Bye.